guys, welcome to my channel, Psyched Out Slick. Today we're going to be talking about how euthanasia has been planned for decades. And would you be for this for yourself or for a family member? Or do you think that this is a slippery slope that aren't in the most stable place to decide that they want to end their lives? And is that okay? Should people be allowed to do that? Or do you think that it's merciful? People get dignity. I personally, as a Christian, don't believe that we should be in charge of life and death. I think that that is up to God. I think it is against the Bible. I think that is even if it is assisted by someone else. I came across this post on X, and it was a quote from Henry Kissinger from 2009 at the WHO Council on Eugenics. Once the herd accepts mandatory, it's game over. They will accept anything, forcible blood or organ donation for the greater good. We can genetically modify children and sterilize them for the greater good. Control sheep, minds, and you can control the herd. Makers stand to make billions, and many of you in this room are investors. It's a big win-win. We thin out the herd, and the herd pays for more extermination. When it says we can genetically modify children and sterilize them. And again, he's talking at the Council of Eugenics. This is known to want to that aren't worth anything in their eyes to society. So think about the agenda. Okay, so genetically modified children, you mean give them blockers and surgically them? Is that what we're talking about? Because that's happening. Of course, this is for the greater good, right? Like, we don't want their mental health to suffer. We don't want them to commit. We want them to commit assisted. Come on, guys, wake up. This is not always about, for the greater good, for these people that have been suffering forever with cancer and just want to die with dignity. It's a very slippery slope. They're going to start including disabled people, mentally ill people, people that are poor, that can't support themselves. And why is that? Because they want to get rid of and cut out people from society that they feel like are useless and that are mooching off of society. That's gross. Everyone has inherent value. Every human being has inherent value. And if you are falling for this agenda, you're falling for the globalist propaganda. And when we talked about that in a previous video, if you'd like to understand more what propaganda is, please check that out. It's about psyops and obedience programs. But I want you to really think about this. Why are they pushing assisted? So then we want to think about, okay, what does it say right here? Makers stand to make billions. And this was back in 2009. But it's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's all about the elite thinking that they are better than everybody else. And they're always going to try to manipulate you into thinking that it's for the greater good or for your safety. And that's why they have to make these changes. So just to give you guys an outlook of what I posted in response to this, what's happening now has been planned for decades. People are just now catching on to the signs that have been right in front of our faces. What's done in the dark will be brought to light, and I do believe that. I think that things that have been done in the dark for a long time are on their way to being illuminated and brought to the light. All right, so what is euthanasia? So euthanasia is the practice of ending a patient's life to relieve their suffering, typically for a patient who is terminally ill or in greater pain. My opinion is we're all suffering. We all live in this sinful world, and there is something that we're dealing with, whether it is suffering, watching a loved one suffer, or whether it's our own suffering. This world is not perfect. We are not in heaven, and we are going to be exposed to suffering, but there are also beautiful things in life to experience, and it's not all about suffering. So how can we acknowledge that there are going to be hard times in life, times where it's going to feel like the best option is to give up, but how can we also empower people to realize, like, you're more than your circumstances. Like, there are things that you can do to help yourself, and think just because I'm in a bad spot right now doesn't mean that I should end everything. You know, I might be vulnerable in a vulnerable place where people are taking advantage of me, and I need to be aware of that and not succumb to that pressure. A lot of the times in this video that I was listening to, they mentioned how they felt like this was an implanted thought in their brain after they learned about the program, and like someone suggested to them whenever they were really depressed or going through a hard time, it was like that popped up in their head. And it makes you then think about it more. And I wonder if we're socializing people to desire this and want more of this. I want you to listen to the guy in the green shirt. The guy has a history of being on the streets when he was like a teenager, I think 18, he was on the streets, selling his body, became an alcoholic, just trying to get by, in the cold of Canada. And someone approached him with this euthanasia program called MAID in Canada. It's an assisted program. And he thought about it. He thought about it a lot. And it would come up to his mind often. And then there was a switch in him where he realized that, like, this isn't natural, this isn't normal. People have inherent value. We need to be supporting people. There are a lot of different ways that we can be supporting people that are in poverty other than offering them. If you're listening to me and you have struggled and been living without shelter, or living out of your car, or have mental health issues, or are disabled, you are worthy. You are more than worthy. Like, every human is equal, and whatever disability or difficulty you're going through, that does not define you. And everyone has the ability to be able to walk through a difficult time and walk through it and get through the other side. And I think that we need to allow people that time to get there, and not just offer them this solution of death because it's easy and cheaper for the government. I mean, okay, sorry.
Fortunately, I think it is a bit of column A and column B. Column A being that it is social murder. It's a eugenics, because the people who are most going to apply are the ones who are the most vulnerable, and they're getting the least amount of help. So it's just obvious social engineering, eugenics, whatever you want to call it there. So since 2016, 45,000 people have been killed. 13,000 were in 2022. It's exponentially getting bigger. California has about the same population as Canada, and California's only done 850. Why are people killing themselves in Canada with MAID 16 times more than in California?
Do you think the doctors are coercing them into this being a good option?
I think it's a perfect storm. I think it's homelessness, poverty, doctors, the misinformation, and the dying with dignity lobbyists. It's going to be George Orwell. It's going to be 1984. It's going to be any of those warnings that we were getting. We were literally too poor to live. Let us take your organs, and you saved us $86 million. News.
I highly recommend going and watching Tyler Rivera's whole video, because it helps you see how, like, they're really peddling this to people. It's not like just like you've been chronically ill, let's help you. It has been pushed to a lot of different people as like, the best solution for them. Like, even if they're financially unstable, like, this is your option. You can turn that around. Like, a lot of people have turned around bankruptcies, foreclosures. I mean, it's not the end of the world, even though at the time, temporarily, it feels like that. So I think they do take advantage of vulnerable people. We need to protect them, not just offer them death.
Media is not covering it because they're all corporate owned. It's been an absolute nightmare to get eyeballs on this. It's usually foreign press that comes and wants to cover MAID in Canada.
Okay. It's dystopian.
It's a big problem here because right now it costs us $80 billion to maintain poverty. So why wouldn't they start reinvesting that and redistributing that and getting some people off the streets? They also let in way too many immigrants. The one other thing that I've been worried about, I said it last year and I don't know how in place it is MAID in prison. Because if you think about it, you can kill a political prisoner, get them sent to prison, make MAID their only option, which is what we're all dealing with out here. If life's unlivable in there for them, they will choose MAID, and you've just taken someone out without even firing a shot. It's a further...
Yeah, again, slippery slope. Then we're gonna just kill prisoners because why not? They're, they choose it. They don't want to be alive anymore, and then they save us a bunch of money. Or we don't have to, like he said, fire a single shot.
And I've also heard that minors who may qualify for the mental illness track and deformed babies or babies with severe disabilities are now being considered. Is that real?
Yeah, that was real. That was a doctor in Quebec trying to table that. And I think that Dying with Dignity is also trying to put children in later on. They're trying to get the win right now with the solely mental illness. That's the biggest problem with these types of programs. It is always a slippery slope. It's always something more has to be included. And that's what the UK is really echoing, where it's like, we might put this in place, but look what happened to Canada. Now they're doing this and this, and purely solely mental illness. Like, that's crossing the line.
And if you go...
So now we're going to include children. Think back to the Henry Kissinger quote. So let's change to a part with a different person. So this lady, she went to a pain clinic and had been struggling with pain for years, she says, and that they offered her MAID, and was like, no, and really recommending it. Like, if I were you, I would do it. I wouldn't want to live like this. You're suffering. And just like, maybe not gaslighting her, but manipulating her into like thinking that this is the best option for her. And she was like, why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep peddling this? And they do it because they're making money. They're getting people out of the healthcare system that's burdening Canada because of the socialized healthcare system, and the poverty issue. So there are reasons why they're doing this, and it's not for the greater good that they're guising it under. It is for greedy purposes. So let's listen to her.
Is there a world where MAID could be implemented against your own will at some point if some medical problem happened?
If this pandemic treaty is signed, people don't understand what's in this treaty. It's far beyond just pandemic.
Tell me what's in this treaty.
It seizes control of healthcare, period, in the nations that sign up for it. They can force vaccinate anybody with any vaccine they deem necessary.
Yeah, that's pretty effing scary. And we want the government to dictate that for us. If this comes up for America to sign, we need to be ready to reject it. Reject it at all costs. I know my man Trump will accept it, at least I pray he doesn't. But again, we need to be aware of what's on the horizon. Wake up, people. This has been planned for decades, way before 2009. When Henry Kissinger said it to the WHO. It's been happening for decades. Let's finish up this clip.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's other laws on our books right now. We've got a Bill 63, I think it is, that's in third reading right now, that would make speaking out against our government jailable.
Just like Great Britain.
There was a time nations stood up for democracy and fought for freedom, but this is a different kind of warfare now. And nations are being taken without a shot being fired. It's scary. People need to wake up because it's not going to be very long before there's no going back.
Well,
Please, guys, please heed the warnings. Well, guys, that's all I really have for today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my video and hear my point of view. What do you guys think of euthanasia and this MAID program in Canada? Because it is in the United States and a couple of states, definitely in California. It's just not as prevalent in the United States as it is in Canada. But, who knows when that slippery slope is going to hit home. So we need to be prepared, we need to be aware, and we need to wake up that these things have been planned for a long, long time. And this is just the beginning, and we need to put a stop to that. Like she said, there was a time when people used to stand up against the government, and I hope that my generation is the one to start doing that. We need to stand up. We need to make the government for the people. All right, thanks, guys. And I'm Slick. Welcome to Psyched Out Slick. Don't miss any more content. I'll see you guys soon.